A big car recall. Nissan recalling 480,000 vehicles because the engines can lose power while in use. It affects the Rogue, Altima, and Infiniti compact SUV models from years 2019 to 2022.
For decades, Honda and Nissan earned their place in driveways across America by building engines that seemed bulletproof. These were cars that ran quietly for hundreds of thousands of miles with barely more than basic maintenance. But those days are fading fast. In the last decade, both automakers have made major engineering shifts: smaller turbo engines, more complex electronics, and transmissions that promise efficiency but often deliver frustration. Owners who once bragged about reliability are now facing oil-burning engines, failing timing chains, and transmissions that die far too early. Some of these problems are so common, they've led to class action lawsuits and nationwide recalls, yet many buyers still aren't aware. What's worse, even recent models aren't immune. From the Civic to the Altima, longtime favorites are suffering under the hood. Today, we'll look at the Hondas and Nissans you should think twice about, and why their engines are letting owners down. Honda Civic, the oil consumption nightmare. The Honda Civic has always been a symbol of reliability, efficiency, and value. But the newer generation, especially those powered by the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine, has been a different story altogether. What was supposed to be a modern, efficient engine turned into a headache for thousands of owners across the country. The issue? Fuel mixing with oil, excessive oil consumption, and engines that stall or lose power without warning. This problem first appeared in the 2016 to 2018 models, and it became especially noticeable in cold weather states. The turbocharged engines ran too cool, allowing gasoline to seep into the oil system. Over time, the oil became diluted, losing its ability to lubricate properly. Drivers began noticing rough idling, check engine lights, and that signature smell of gasoline inside the cabin. In some cases, the car even refused to start after short drives because the oil was so thin that it couldn't maintain pressure. What made things worse was Honda's slow and cautious response. Instead of a recall, the company quietly issued a product update in certain regions, extending warranties and promising software updates to help the engine warm up faster. But for many owners, the damage had already been done. By the time they realized their oil smelled like fuel, it was too late. Piston rings were worn, spark plugs were fouled, and engines needed full rebuilds. On paper, the Civic's 1.5-liter turbo is a marvel, offering more power and better fuel economy than the old naturally aspirated engines. But in real-world use, it proved sensitive to climate, short driving patterns, and maintenance intervals. The irony is that some older Civics with twice the mileage still run smoother than these newer models with under 50,000 miles. The once trusted nameplate now comes with a warning. If you're looking for a trouble-free daily driver, skip the turbo Civics. Unless you're ready to check your oil every week and pray your warranty covers potential engine damage, this Civic might leave you with more stress than savings. Honda CR-V, turbo trouble and stalling engines. The Honda CR-V was once the gold standard of compact SUVs. Families loved it for its comfort, reliability, and resale value. But the introduction of the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine in the 2017 to 2021 models changed that reputation almost overnight. What was meant to bring better fuel efficiency and power turned into one of Honda's most embarrassing reliability chapters. Just like the Civic, the The CR-V's 1.5-liter turbo engine suffers from severe fuel dilution issues, where gasoline mixes with engine oil. The result is a thin, contaminated oil that fails to protect internal components. Drivers reported hearing knocking sounds, experiencing sluggish acceleration, and smelling raw fuel inside the cabin. In cold climates, some engines even stalled in the middle of the road or refused to start altogether. Imagine heading out on a freezing morning and finding your reliable CR-V dead in the driveway. The issue became so widespread that Honda couldn't ignore it. But instead of issuing a nationwide recall, the company limited its response to colder regions like Canada, Alaska, and parts of the northern United States. There, owners received software updates designed to make the engine heat up faster and burn off excess fuel. However, this fix was more of a patch than a permanent solution. Many owners outside those areas continued facing the same problems without any official help. The fuel dilution not only affected drivability, but also long-term engine health. Over time, contaminated oil caused premature wear on piston rings, cylinder walls, and bearings. Some owners noticed their oil levels rising on the dipstick, a clear sign that gasoline was sneaking into the crankcase. In extreme cases, the engines began misfiring and losing compression well before the 100,000-mile mark. To make matters worse, Honda's legendary resale value took a hit. Used car buyers began avoiding certain CR-V model years altogether, forcing dealers to lower prices. Owners who once counted on Honda's bulletproof image found themselves explaining strange engine problems to mechanics who used to praise the brand. In short, the CR-V's turbo engine turned what should have been a dependable family SUV into a risky bet. And while newer models claim to have resolved the issue, many drivers still feel Honda's reputation hasn't fully recovered. Honda Accord, timing chain tensioner failures. For decades, the Honda Accord has been the sensible choice for buyers wanting a mix of reliability, comfort, and understated style. It was the car you could hand down to your kids after 200,000 miles and still expect it to run like new. But the recent generations tell a different story. Beneath the polished design and refined interiors, the Accord has been hiding an ugly secret: major timing chain tensioner failures and oil-related engine problems that have left many owners stranded. These issues have mainly affected Accords equipped with the 2.0-liter turbocharged engine, as well as the older K24 four-cylinder variants. The problem begins quietly: a faint rattling sound at startup, a flickering oil light, or the feeling that the car isn't accelerating as smoothly as before. Most drivers initially dismiss it as something minor, but what's really happening inside is far more serious. The timing chain tensioner is failing to maintain proper tension, allowing the chain to stretch and skip teeth on the camshaft gears. Once that happens, the engine's timing goes off, leading to misfires, poor performance, and in some cases, total engine failure. The most troubling part is that this can happen without any warning lights until it's too late. Some owners report that the tensioner design allows oil pressure to bleed off when the engine sits idle for too long. When restarted, the chain starts loose and rattles violently before pressure builds back up, slowly damaging the system each time. Adding to the headache, several Accords have also faced head gasket leaks and excessive oil consumption, particularly in the 2013 to 2017 models. Many drivers have found themselves topping up oil every few weeks, only to be told by dealers that a quart every 1,000 miles is normal. It's not. It's a symptom of piston ring wear or poor engine sealing, both of which lead to long-term damage. While Honda attempted to improve the tensioner design in later models, the damage to its reputation was already done. The Accord, once praised for its rock-solid reliability, became another example of how cutting-edge engineering can backfire when reliability takes a back seat to fuel efficiency and performance marketing. So if you're looking at a used Accord, be careful. That smooth-running sedan might be one cold start away from a stretched timing chain and a four-figure repair bill. Honda Odyssey V6 engine misfire class action. The Honda Odyssey has long been known as the ultimate family van, comfortable, dependable, and capable of hauling both people and luggage without breaking a sweat. For years, parents trusted it as the most reliable minivan on the market. But owners of certain model years quickly discovered that behind its smooth V6 powertrain lurked one of Honda's most frustrating engine defects: random misfires, rough idling, and costly repairs caused by the brand's very own Variable Cylinder Management System, or VCM. On paper, VCM sounded like a great innovation. It was designed to improve fuel efficiency by deactivating some of the engine cylinders when cruising or driving lightly. But in practice, it caused uneven engine wear, oil fouling, and excessive vibration. Over time, the constant switching between active and inactive cylinders led to carbon buildup on spark plugs and piston rings. As a result, the engine began to misfire, a problem that plagued thousands of owners across multiple model years, including 2008 to 2013, and even some newer ones. Drivers reported the same symptoms again and again: the check engine light flashing, the car shuddering while accelerating, or sudden drops in power on the highway. For many, the first diagnosis came as a shock: cylinders failing due to carbon buildup and oil leaks caused by the VCM system itself. Replacing spark plugs or coils temporarily masked the issue, but the root cause remained untouched. Eventually, the misfires damaged catalytic converters and even warped cylinder heads. Things escalated to the point where multiple class action lawsuits were filed against Honda, accusing the company of knowingly selling vehicles with defective engines. While Honda agreed to extended warranties and partial settlements, many owners had already spent thousands out of pocket before relief arrived. Even after the fixes, some Odyssey vans continued to suffer from oil consumption and vibration problems that no dealership visit could truly solve. To make matters worse, the issue wasn't isolated to the Odyssey. The same V6 engine with VCM appeared in the Pilot, Accord, and Ridgeline, spreading the headache across Honda's lineup. For families that bought the Odyssey expecting bulletproof reliability, the experience was nothing short of betrayal. If you're shopping for a used Odyssey, especially one from the late 2000s to mid-2000s, think twice. Unless it's had major engine work done or proof of regular oil checks, that family-friendly van could turn into a financial nightmare. Honda Pilot, excessive oil burning. The Honda Pilot was designed to be the reliable, go-anywhere SUV for families, a larger, more rugged alternative to the Odyssey, with the same trusted V6 under the hood. But what many owners didn't expect was that this so-called reliable engine would start burning oil like an old beater truck. Over time, the Pilot developed a serious reputation for oil consumption issues that went far beyond what anyone would consider normal. The main culprit lies in Honda's 3.5-liter V6 engine, particularly those with Variable Cylinder Management (VCM), the same system that caused headaches in the Odyssey. The technology was intended to improve fuel economy by deactivating cylinders under light load, but it came with major side effects. The system created uneven heat and pressure inside the engine, allowing oil to slip past the piston rings and burn inside the combustion chamber. The result? A smoky exhaust, rough acceleration, and oil levels that drop faster than they should. Many owners began noticing they were adding a quart of oil every 1,000 miles or less. Even more alarming, some experienced sudden loss of power or a flashing check engine light while driving. Honda's official stance was that a small amount of oil consumption is normal, but that explanation didn't sit well with drivers spending hundreds of dollars topping off oil between changes. In some cases, the excessive oil burning caused internal damage to catalytic converters and spark plugs, compounding the repair bills. This problem affected a wide range of pilot models, from the 2009 generation all the way through the early 2000s. Complaints poured in to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and several owners banded together to file lawsuits alleging that Honda knew about the defect but failed to issue a proper recall. Eventually, Honda extended warranties and offered software updates to reduce cylinder deactivation cycles, but many owners found the fix too little, too late. What makes the issue even more frustrating is how deceptive it can be. The pilot's engines often burn oil slowly, unnoticed until the oil level gets dangerously low. Once that happens, bearings and valves start wearing out prematurely, leading to full-blown engine failure if left unchecked. For a vehicle marketed as a rugged, family-ready SUV, the pilot's oil-burning problem turned reliability into a guessing game. Unless you're prepared to check your dipstick religiously and carry extra oil in the trunk, owning one of these pilots can feel like babysitting a mechanical time bomb. Nissan Altima, CVT and engine combo disaster. For years, the Nissan Altima was one of the most common sedans on American roads. It was affordable, efficient, and offered a surprisingly comfortable ride for its price point. But beneath that dependable image, a storm was brewing. The combination of Nissan's 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine and its infamous continuously variable transmission, or CVT, turned what should have been a commuter-friendly sedan into a ticking time bomb. The first major issue? Overheating and premature CVT failure. Owners began reporting severe jerking, hesitation, whining noises, and delayed acceleration, sometimes at just 50,000 miles. The CVT, which Nissan marketed as smooth and efficient, turned out to be fragile, especially when paired with the Altima's 2.5-liter engine. The transmission's cooling system couldn't handle sustained heat during long drives or heavy traffic, leading to fluid breakdown and internal damage. In some cases, the car would suddenly lose power while merging or climbing hills, creating dangerous situations on the road. But the transmission wasn't the only culprit. The 2.5-liter QR25DE engine, used in many Altimas from 2013 to 2020, developed its own set of issues, from blown head gaskets to oil consumption and timing chain wear. Some drivers noticed excessive oil loss without visible leaks, only to later discover the engine was burning it internally. Others reported knocking sounds and reduced performance due to failing piston rings and bearings. As complaints piled up, Nissan extended warranties on the CVT multiple times, but the damage to its reputation was already done. Countless Altima owners spent thousands replacing transmissions out of pocket. Even worse, replacement CVTs often failed again within a few years because the fundamental design flaw remained. The lawsuits came next. Class actions accused Nissan of knowingly selling vehicles with defective transmissions while continuing to advertise them as reliable and efficient. The CVT Altima combo became one of the most notorious pairings in modern car history. What made things even more frustrating was that Nissan didn't learn its lesson. Instead of reverting to conventional automatic transmissions, the company doubled down, continuing to use CVTs across its entire lineup. For used car shoppers, the warning is clear. A cheap Altima might seem like a good deal, but it can easily become a financial disaster. Between engine troubles and transmission replacements, many owners found themselves spending more on repairs than the car was worth. What was once a trusted commuter car now serves as a cautionary tale about what happens when cost-cutting takes priority over durability. Nissan Rogue, engine knock and CVT failures. The Nissan Rogue has long been one of the brand's best-selling models, praised for its comfort, practicality, and affordability. But talk to long-term owners, and a very different story emerges, one filled with engine knocking, whining transmissions, and repair bills that pile up long before the car reaches 100,000 miles. What should have been Nissan's most dependable SUV turned into one of its biggest reliability nightmares. The problems begin with the 2.5-liter QR25DE engine, the same one used in several other Nissan models. This engine, while efficient on paper, is known for developing excessive oil consumption, timing chain wear, and rod-bearing failures. Many Rogue owners have complained of hearing a metallic knocking or ticking noise coming from the engine, a telltale sign of internal wear caused by oil starvation or worn bearings. Once that noise begins, the engine's lifespan is on borrowed time, some even seized completely, forcing full replacements that cost thousands of dollars. But the engine is only half the story. The Rogue's CVT transmission, especially in models from 2014 to 2018, has been another major source of frustration. Drivers reported whining sounds during acceleration, jerky movements, loss of power, and complete transmission failure. These CVTs were prone to overheating, especially during highway drives or in hot climates. Nissan even had to issue software updates to limit transmission temperatures by reducing engine power, a fix that only masked the real issue. Many owners describe a frightening experience, the vehicle suddenly losing acceleration in traffic, with the engine revving but the car barely moving. Others noticed delayed responses when pressing the gas, making simple maneuvers like merging or passing unpredictable and unsafe. In some cases, the transmission failed entirely within 60,000 miles, well before most warranties expired. The frustration deepened when owners discovered that replacement CVTs often suffered the same fate within a few years. Nissan's refusal to switch to a more reliable automatic transmission left a lasting scar on the brand's image. The Rogue, which should have been a competitor to the Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V, instead became a symbol of mechanical inconsistency and corporate negligence. Even the newer Rogues, while improved, carry the weight of that history. Used models are often sold cheaply, but there's a reason. Mechanics and used car dealers alike warn buyers to approach them with caution. Unless the CVT has been replaced and the service records are spotless, the Rogue can quickly transform from a family-friendly SUV into a driveway ornament. Nissan Sentra, timing chain and head gasket problems. The Nissan Sentra has always been marketed as the simple, affordable compact sedan, a practical choice for students, commuters, and families on a budget. But what many owners didn't expect was just how unreliable its heart could be. From timing chain issues to blown head gaskets and weak engines, the Sentra has quietly earned one of the worst reputations in its class when it comes to long-term dependability. The trouble starts with the 1.8-liter and 2.0-liter four-cylinder engines found in Sentras between 2013 and 2020. These engines were designed to maximize fuel efficiency, but poor design and cheap components led to serious mechanical flaws. One of the most common problems is the timing chain stretching prematurely, a failure that can cause rough idling, rattling noises, poor acceleration, and in severe cases, catastrophic engine damage. When the chain stretches too far, it can skip timing teeth and throw off the entire synchronization of the engine. The result? Valves slamming into pistons and an engine that's suddenly beyond repair. Even worse, this problem often develops quietly. There's usually no warning light until it's too late. Some owners only realize something was wrong after the car began running rough or failed to start altogether. Repairing or replacing the timing chain system can easily cost over $2,000, an expense few expect on a budget-friendly compact car. But that's not the only headache. The Sentra has also been plagued by blown head gaskets and overheating problems, especially in older models. Drivers reported losing coolant without visible leaks, only to discover it was seeping into the combustion chamber. This caused white smoke from the exhaust, poor fuel economy, and a constant need to top up coolant. Once the gasket fails completely, the engine quickly overheats, warping the cylinder head and leading to repair bills that often exceed the car's market value. Add in the same unreliable CVT transmission used across Nissan's lineup, and the Sentra becomes a perfect storm of mechanical trouble. The CVT often slips, jerks, or whines under acceleration, symptoms that, when combined with a tired engine, make the driving experience frustrating and unpredictable. Nissan did extend warranties on the CVT and issued service bulletins for timing chain issues, but for many owners, help came only after their vehicles were already out of warranty. Mechanics who used to recommend the Sentra for its simplicity now tell customers to steer clear entirely. Today, the once humble Sentra has become an example of how cost-cutting and overcomplicated engineering can ruin even the most straightforward car. If you're considering a used Sentra, think twice, because under that affordable price tag may lie thousands in hidden repair costs. Nissan Murano, 3.5-liter V6 oil leaks and failures. The Nissan Murano was introduced as a stylish, upscale crossover for drivers who wanted something more premium than the Rogue, but not as large as the Pathfinder. For a while, it seemed like a winner. Smooth ride, strong V6 power, and plenty of creature comforts. But beneath its sleek design and luxurious interior, the Murano has been hiding a history of serious engine problems. The same 3.5-liter V6 that Nissan used in multiple models turned out to have major oil leak issues and internal failures that have left owners furious and out thousands of dollars. This engine, known as the VQ35DE, was once praised for its balance of performance and refinement. However, as the years went on, poor gasket materials, weak seals, and design shortcuts began to show their consequences. Many Murano owners started noticing dark spots under their cars, only to learn that the valve cover gaskets or rear main seals were leaking. Over time, those small drips turned into major oil loss, and since the leaks often occurred in hard-to-reach areas, the repairs were neither simple nor cheap. But the problem goes deeper than just leaks. Some Muranos developed issues with oil starvation, where the engine wasn't circulating oil effectively due to clogged passages or neglected maintenance. The result? Worn-out camshafts, knocking noises, and eventually complete engine failure. In several cases, drivers reported that their engines seized up suddenly at highway speeds, even when their oil levels appeared normal. This inconsistency made the issue difficult to diagnose and even harder to prevent. Adding insult to injury, the Murano also suffered from problems with its CVT transmission, similar to other Nissan models. The combination of a heavy crossover body and a weak CVT led to frequent overheating, slipping, and whining noises under acceleration. When paired with an engine already struggling with oil leaks and internal wear, it created a 1-2 punch that many owners couldn't recover from financially. The 2009 to 2014 model years were particularly troublesome, with widespread reports of oil consumption, timing chain noise, and crankshaft seal leaks. Nissan issued technical service bulletins, but stopped short of a full recall, leaving many owners to foot the repair bills themselves. Some even replaced the same gaskets twice, only for the leaks to return months later. The Murano's problems are a painful reminder that even a seemingly well-built V6 can fail when cost-cutting takes over engineering. For used buyers, it's a gamble. You might find a Murano that runs beautifully, but unless there's documented proof of major maintenance and seal replacements, that elegant crossover could turn into a money pit waiting to happen. Nissan Pathfinder, engine knocking and CVT failures. The Nissan Pathfinder was once a symbol of rugged dependability, a family SUV that could tow, travel long distances, and handle rough terrain without complaint. But the modern Pathfinder, especially those built between 2013 and 2016, represents one of Nissan's biggest mechanical disappointments. Underneath its sleek body and comfortable interior, it hides two major issues that have plagued thousands of owners: severe engine knocking and catastrophic CVT transmission failures. At the heart of the problem lies Nissan's 3.5-liter V6 engine, the same one found in the Murano and Maxima. While it was once praised for smooth power delivery, many Pathfinders developed knocking noises, oil leaks, and premature wear in critical engine components. The knocking often starts subtly, a faint rattle on cold starts or a low thump during acceleration. But over time, it becomes louder and more persistent. This is usually caused by worn connecting rod bearings or piston slap, both symptoms of poor lubrication and oil breakdown. In several cases, owners reported that their oil levels were normal, yet the engine still failed. This led to the discovery that some Pathfinders suffered from oil starvation due to blocked passages or faulty seals, leading to internal metal-on-metal wear. Once the knocking begins, there's often no saving the engine. It's only a matter of time before it seizes completely. But the engine isn't the only issue. The CVT transmission in these Pathfinders is arguably even worse. Nissan's decision to use a CVT in a large, heavy SUV backfired spectacularly. The transmission struggled to handle the weight and torque, leading to overheating, shuddering, and violent jerking during acceleration. Many drivers experienced delayed throttle response or complete power loss when merging onto highways. In some cases, the transmission entered a fail-safe mode, limiting the car's speed to protect itself. a terrifying experience when you're trying to overtake or climb a hill. Nissan attempted to calm customers with software updates and warranty extensions, but the underlying problem remained. The CVT's internal belt system and inadequate cooling design made it almost impossible to withstand prolonged stress. Countless owners faced replacements costing $4,000 or more, sometimes within just 60,000 miles. Even replacement transmissions often failed again, sometimes within 2 years. By the late 2000s, the Pathfinder's reputation was in shambles. What used to be a reliable nameplate had turned into a cautionary tale. Car enthusiasts and mechanics alike began advising buyers to avoid any CVT-equipped Pathfinder altogether. Even today, the used market treats those years with skepticism, and for good reason. If you're in the market for a family SUV, the Pathfinder might look appealing with its price and features, but unless you enjoy hearing engine knocks and transmission whines, this is one Nissan best left behind. Honda Ridgeline, truck that couldn't handle heat. When Honda launched the Ridgeline, it was marketed as a smart, refined alternative to traditional pickup trucks. Built on a unibody platform instead of a body-on-frame design, it promised car-like comfort with truck-like utility. For buyers who wanted to haul light loads or tow small trailers without the harsh ride of a full-size truck, the Ridgeline seemed perfect. But behind that comfort and innovation, the Ridgeline hid a serious weakness. Its engine and transmission simply weren't built to handle real-world heat and heavy use. Under the hood sat the same 3.5-liter V6 engine that powered other Honda models like the Pilot and Odyssey. While this engine was known for smoothness and decent power, it wasn't designed for sustained heavy-duty work. Owners began noticing overheating issues, especially during towing or long highway drives in hot climates. Transmission fluid temperatures would spike, and in some cases, the vehicle would enter limp mode, drastically reducing power to protect the drivetrain. Many of these overheating problems were traced back to the cooling system, specifically the transmission cooler. Unlike body-on-frame trucks from Ford, Chevy, or Toyota, the Ridgeline's cooling setup was smaller and less capable of managing the heat generated during towing or heavy hauling. Over time, this led to burnt transmission fluid, slipping gears, and ultimately transmission failure. Some drivers reported fluid leaks or complete transmission breakdowns before hitting 100,000 miles. Compounding the problem was the truck's cylinder deactivation system, or VCM, which was meant to improve fuel economy by shutting off certain cylinders at cruising speeds. Unfortunately, it also caused uneven wear, vibration, and increased oil consumption, the same issue seen in Honda's V6 sedans and SUVs. For a truck, these flaws were unacceptable. Drivers who expected reliability under load found themselves visiting repair shops for oil leaks, misfires, and transmission issues far too soon. To make matters worse, the Ridgeline's design made many of these repairs complicated and expensive. Replacing or servicing the transmission cooler, for example, required removing several major components, driving up labor costs. Some owners installed aftermarket coolers just to keep the temperatures under control, a clear sign that Honda's engineering didn't anticipate real truck usage. While later Ridgeline models have seen improvements, the early generations left a lasting mark on the truck's reputation. It might be one of the most comfortable pickups on the road, but comfort doesn't mean much when your engine overheats halfway through a tow. For anyone looking for a dependable truck that can actually handle heat and hard work, The Ridgeline's charm quickly fades once the temperature and the repair bills start rising. Nissan Frontier, old but still problematic. The Nissan Frontier has long been marketed as the no-nonsense, durable mid-size truck, a simpler, tougher alternative to flashy new competitors. For years, its old-school design actually worked in its favor. The Frontier's rugged styling, basic features, and proven 4.0-liter V6 gave it a reputation as a dependable workhorse. But the truth beneath that reputation is far less flattering. The Frontier's aging powertrain and neglected engineering updates have made it one of the most mechanically unreliable trucks in its class, plagued by cooling system failures, timing chain wear, and engine issues that just won't go away. Let's start with the 4.0-liter V6, known internally as the VQ40DE. While it has plenty of torque, it also has a long list of weaknesses. Many owners have reported coolant leaks caused by a cracked radiator or a defective internal seal that allows coolant to mix with transmission fluid. This issue, which became notorious in Frontiers built between 2005 and 2010, led to what's now known among truck enthusiasts as the strawberry milkshake of death, a pinkish, frothy fluid that destroys the transmission from the inside out. Once that mixture forms, the only fix is a complete transmission replacement, often costing upwards of $4,000 to $6,000. Even beyond the coolant contamination issue, the Frontier's engines have suffered from worn timing chains, leaky valve covers, and failing secondary tensioners. These components, essential for maintaining engine timing, wear out far earlier than they should, often before the 100,000-mile mark. Once the timing chain starts to stretch or rattle, the engine's smooth performance deteriorates rapidly. If ignored, it can jump timing and cause catastrophic internal damage. Then there's the oil leakage problem. The Frontier's V6 engines are notorious for developing slow oil leaks from valve covers, rear main seals, and even oil pans. While a few drops here and there might seem harmless, these leaks often worsen over time, leading to burning smells, visible smoke, and costly repairs. Combined with the truck's tendency to run hot under load, these oil leaks can accelerate engine wear, especially for owners who tow or drive in high temperatures. When Nissan finally updated the Frontier in the 2020s, many hoped the problems were gone. However, the newer 3.8-liter V6 introduced a new wave of reliability concerns. Early reports point to oil leaks, stalling issues, and electrical problems, proving that even after 2 decades, Nissan still hasn't fully ironed out the Frontier's mechanical weaknesses. For a truck built on the promise of simplicity and strength, the Frontier has fallen short where it matters most: durability. While it may look like a tough, old-school pickup, its outdated engineering and recurring engine problems make it one of the riskiest used trucks you can buy. The name might suggest reliability born from tradition, but under the hood, the Frontier tells a much different story. One of missed updates, hidden flaws, and the cost of complacency. For decades, Honda and Nissan stood as the pillars of Japanese reliability, the brands families trusted when they wanted a car that would run forever. But as the years have passed, both automakers have drifted from the simple, bulletproof designs that built their reputations. In their race for higher fuel efficiency, smaller engines, and modern technology, they introduced complicated systems and cost-cutting measures that turned once trusted models into sources of frustration and financial pain. From Honda's oil-burning Civics and stalling CR-Vs to Nissan's self-destructing CVTs and knocking V6, it's clear that reliability isn't what it used to be. These aren't isolated cases or rare defects. They're patterns seen across entire generations of vehicles. The very engines that were supposed to deliver innovation ended up delivering repair bills, and the loyal customers who once swore by these brands are starting to look elsewhere. The lesson here is simple. A badge that once stood for dependability no longer guarantees it. Whether it's a fuel-efficient turbo Honda or a versatile Nissan SUV, the only way to protect yourself is to research thoroughly, check service bulletins, and read owner reports before buying. The auto industry changes fast, and sometimes even the most respected names can lose their way. Honda and Nissan still make good cars today, but not all of them live up to their legacy. So before you hand over your money, take a closer look under the hood. Because in today's market, the difference between a reliable ride and a financial nightmare often comes down to knowing which engines to avoid.